So here's a story that would be a nightmare scenario for any parent. A mother walks into her son's room at 11 o'clock at night expecting to find him laying there asleep, but instead she finds a note. A note that says for her not to worry, but that he's gone to the hospital, but that he will definitely be back later this evening. By the time the mother had read the note, her son had already smuggled a knife out of the kitchen and snuck out of the house, where he then severed his left hand off at his wrist. The boy left his hand laying on the ground as he called a taxi in order to take him to the hospital. Doctors later tried to reattach his hand to his arm, but were unsure if he would ever regain full mobility again. Now, you may be asking yourself, why in the world would anybody chop off their hand? Now, according to reports from the media, this guy's name was Lil Wayne. Apparently no relation to Lil Wayne, but he apparently had a problem with online internet addiction and online gaming. And apparently, instead of opting to unplug or just sell the freaking computer, which is probably what I would have tried to do first, he instead opted to chop off his limb. Apparently, he got the Cure Addiction book by ISIS. You know, we've talked about this a little bit before, how addiction, online addiction, is considered a crisis in many Asian countries. Some of these countries are actually setting up military-style boot camps, you know, kind of like the set that you saw on Maury Povich, except a lot more intense. And people will send their kids off to these camps, you know, for months at a time in order to try to get them off of electronics. They say, you know, these kids will sit in front of a computer for 20 hours a day. And some countries are even to go to such lengths as to actually tax or penalize the parents who don't keep their kids from getting offline and who allow them to be online at all time. So this boy's mom, you know, she didn't say a whole lot, but she said this boy was smart, you know, but I mean, let's be honest, no smart, healthy kid does this to himself. She said this was out of the blue, but you know, this doesn't sound like something that just pops into your head one day while you're sitting on the toilet and you just decide to, hey, you know, I'm just going to get rid of this thing. I don't really need it, I don't believe anymore. I mean, I guess, thank goodness he wasn't suffering from sex addiction. Who knows what would have happened to Lil Wang. But chopping off limbs, regardless, is not the right way to go about curing addiction. You can't cure addiction just by simply trying to remove the option, you know. So anyway, I hope the kid gets the help that he obviously needs, you know. And I hope everyone else in the world would realize what a horrible idea it is to chop off your hands. You know, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Stories like this that I do occasionally, they usually end up striking different emotions. A lot of times at the same time. You know, on one hand, I feel sympathy for the kid and, you know, anybody who goes through addiction and who has obviously mental issues there. But on the other hand, I also feel a little bit of animosity for something like this. You know, some people have lost limbs in accidents or through battles or, you know, whatever else. Or maybe they were born that way. And they would probably do anything to have that part of their life, you know? And so many people just take it for granted. And here you have a guy who had perfectly working hands, and because he didn't have self-control to simply turn off or unplug a computer or something, he decided to take off his hand instead. And he took off something that he probably always took for granted. But, you know, I highly doubt that he will be taking that for granted ever again. So, I don't know. That's just how I feel about it. A little bit twisted, I guess. But if you want to read more about it, links down in the description box. That does it for me, The Red Dragon. I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.